Good morning, students. Yesterday we have completed hypothalamus endocrine gland, then the sixth one pineal gland, then pancreas gland, then the thymus gland, that is the eighth one. So all these endocrine glands we are studying. Still there are 3 endocrine glands present. Total 11 are there. 8 we have completed. The 9th one is testis, 10th one is the ovary, and the 11th one is the placenta. So these are the 3 endocrine glands remained. So today also we will continue the endocrine system. So today completes the endocrine system. Total 11 endocrine glands are present in our body. So up till today we have learnt about 8 endocrine glands. Today we are going to start with the 9th one, that is the testis, the male reproductive organ. The male reproductive organ, that is the testis. In the testis, the interstitial cells are present, and these are the endocrine part of the testis. The testis also secretes the hormones through the interstitial cells present in the testis, and these interstitial cells produce the hormone which are called gonadotrophins or the sex hormones. Now coming to the structure of this testis, in the figure, in the notes, the figure is very clear. You can go through the figure here also. So this is the testis here, this is testis, this is epididymis from up till here, then it continues as the vas deferens, testis, then efferent ductules. These are the efferent ductules which are connected to the epididymis. This is the epididymis, the thickest part, thick part. The epididymis is divided into head, body and tail region, and after the tail it continues as the vas deferens, which carries the sperms. So the male reproductive organ testis produces the male gametes called sperms, as well as it produces the hormones also. So hence it is a endocrine gland. So when you take the section of the testis, you can see there are 3 layers: the tunica vaginalis, then tunica albinogens, then coming to the third one, that is the tunica vesiculosa. The outer layer is vaginalis, tunica vaginalis. The inner layer, this layer is called tunica albumens. Then the innermost is called tunica vesiculosa. Then epididymis, the head of the epididymis, the body and the tail and the vas deferens. That is the vas deferens. And the efferent ductules which are present here, and the sperms are produced inside this, and then the sperms are carried out to the epididymis, and to the through the vas deferens they come to the seminal vesicles. So this is about the structure of the testis. Now coming to the section of the testis, the transverse section of the testis shows different types of cells. These round bodies are called seminiferous tubules. Seminiferous tubules. These are the seminiferous tubules wherein the sperms are produced. Different stages of sperm production you can see here, and these are produced and stored in the seminiferous tubules. Then afterwards they will be carried out. So these are the seminiferous tubules here. In the section you can see the seminiferous tubules. The blood vessels are also here present, and in the green colored structures, These are called as interstitial cells, which are endocrine in function. They produce the hormones. Coming to the first point, testis is the male sex organ, or it is also called gonad. It is the male sex organ which is also called gonad, Gonad, gonad. Number 2, it is a mobile organ suspended in the scrotum, a skin bag by spermatic cord. So this testis is a mobile organ which is present outside the body and suspended in the scrotum, the bag-like structure scrotum, in which the two testes are suspended inside. Then the testes are 2 in number, lie obliquely. The testes are 2 in number, lie obliquely. Each testis is ovoid in shape. Size is 5 cm long, 2.5 cm thick, 3 cm breadth, weighing about 10 to 15 grams. These testes weigh 10 to 15 grams and they are ovoid in shape, oval in shape. They are oval in shape. The size is 5 into 2.5 into 3 centimeter and the weight is 10 to 15 grams. Testis is commonly referred as testicles. So commonly they are called as testicles. Each is called testis, but both together called testicles. So the testicles are nothing but the testis. It is an important organ of both the male reproductive system and endocrine system. It is a very important organ for both systems, two systems. The first one is the reproduction or the reproductive system, and the second one is the endocrine system. It produces the hormones also. It is a ductless gland which produces the hormone. The hormone function or the hormone part is different in the testis. So the primary function of testis are to produce male sex cells, that is spermatozoa or sperm, and androgen hormone. The main function of the testis is to produce the male gamete called as a male sex cell, or the spermatozoa or the sperm or spermatozoa are the male sex cells, male gametes, which are produced by the testis. So the testis produce the male sex cells, and also the hormone called as androgen. Androgen hormone is also produced by these testicles. Coming to the histology of the testis is covered by 3 layers. The testis is covered by 3 layers. The first one is, I have already told, the first one is tunica vaginalis. The tunica vaginalis. It is the outermost layer and is closed serous sac of peritoneum. It is a outermost layer and is closed serous sac of peritoneum. It is made up of peritoneum, double layered, structured. It is made up of 2 layers. The first one is visceral layer, the second is parietal layer. In between these 2 layers, a small amount of fluid also present. So the outer is visceral layer and the inner is the parietal layer, and these 2 layers are separated by the fluid present inside in between the 2 layers. The fluid presence is a very important structure here. I'll tell you next one. It is made up of 2 layers, peritoneal layers. The vaginalis, that is the tunica vaginalis, is the first layer. It helps the first layer, that is tunica vaginalis, which is a double layered, and the fluid present inside in between the layer help the testis to move freely within the scrotum. This helps the testicles to move freely in the scrotum sac. In the sac is present, and in the sac the testicles are present. Tunica albuginea. The second layer is tunica albuginea. Point number 1, it is a dense fibrous coat covering the testis all around. The fibrous coat is made up of collagen and elastic fibers. It is a dense fibrous coat, fibrous layer, which is made up of collagen and elastic fibers around the testicles in all the parts. The second point is the inner layer of tunica albuginea is thrown into folds to form number of septas. This layer is thrown into septas in the testicle or in the testis, extending to the inner surface of the testis, up to the inner surface of testis. It has the folds, and these folds are called septas, which divide the testis into 200 to 300 lobes. See, 200 to 300 lobes are there in the each testis, and these lobes are formed by the folds of albuginea, that is tunica albuginea, the second layer. The third layer is tunica vesiculosa. It is the innermost vascular coat of the testis with lobes. This is the innermost vascular coat, vascular layer of the testis. Each lobule contains one or more highly coiled tubules called seminiferous tubules. Highly coiled tubules called seminiferous tubules, which open into the network of channels present at the epididymis point. The channels continue as efferent ductules and join epididymis. The channels continue as efferent ductules and join the epididymis. Next point, the seminiferous tubules are lined by cells in several layers which are concerned with the production of spermatozoa, that is the sperm. The sperm is produced by the germinal layer of the seminiferous tubules. Most of these cells represent stages in the formation of sperm. Different stages are present in the formation of the sperm, and all these different stages can be seen in the section of the seminiferous tubule. Then the next one is the space between the seminiferous tubules is filled with connective tissue with blood vessels and nerves. The blood vessels, nerves and the connective tissue are present in between the seminiferous tubules. These are specialized type of cells called as interstitial cells of Leydig. There are specialized type of cells, very specialized type of cells present in between the seminiferous tubules, and they are called interstitial cells of the Leydig cells. They are also called as Leydig cells or interstitial cells, located in the connective tissue present in between seminiferous tubules, which secrete the male sex hormone androgen or testosterone. So this is the very important point, that is nothing but the interstitial cells or the Leydig cells present in the seminiferous tubules are endocrine in their function. They produce the androgen or the testosterone, which is called male sex hormone. The male sex hormones are produced by Leydig cells of the seminiferous tubules, not from the seminiferous tubule. The cells which are present in the seminiferous tubule, specialized cells, they are called interstitial cells or Leydig cells, and these interstitial cells, they produce the male sex hormone called androgen or the testosterone. Coming to the next point, functions of this hormone. The interstitial Leydig cells present in between the seminiferous tubules constitute the endocrine tissue of the testes, which secrete androgenic hormone called testosterone by the stimulation of LH, luteinizing hormone of pituitary gland. When the luteinizing hormone of the pituitary gland is released, and this hormone stimulates the Leydig cells to produce the androgenic hormone, that is called as androgen or testosterone. The testosterone or androgen, that is the male sex hormone, is produced by the interstitial cell by the stimulation of the LH, that is luteinizing hormone of the pituitary gland. The FSH, follicle stimulating hormone of pituitary gland, along with the testosterone, that is androgen, stimulate the process of spermatogenesis, the production of the sperm or the spermatozoa or the male sex cells or the sperms is by the stimulation of FSH, that is a follicle stimulating hormone of the pituitary gland, and the testosterone, which is produced by the interstitial cells of the testes. Both of these hormones, they stimulate the process of formation of spermatozoa called as spermatogenesis. The testosterone stimulates the embryonic development of male reproductive organs. The testosterone, which is produced by the interstitial cell or the testis of the testis, stimulates the embryonic development of the male reproductive organ. The male reproductive organ development is stimulated by this hormone called testosterone. Next point, it promotes the development of the secondary sex characters of the male, including physical development, hair distribution, masculine voice, and male behavior at puberty. So this is a very important hormone which gives the structure of male characters to the male during puberty. Means it stimulates the sexual characters of the males at puberty. ವಯಸ್ಸಾದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ಪ್ಯೂಬರ್ಟಿಗೆ ಬಂದಾಗ, ವಯಸ್ಸಿಗೆ ಬಂದಾಗ ಮನುಷ್ಯನ ಗಂಡಸಿನ ಜೀವಿತದಲ್ಲಿ ಆಗುವಂಥ ಬದಲಾವಣೆಗಳು, ಮೀಸೆ ಬರೋದು, ಗಡ್ಡ ಬರೋದು, ದೆನ್ ವಾಯ್ಸ್ ಚೇಂಜ್ ಆಗೋದು, ಗಂಡಸು ಧ್ವನಿ ಬರೋದು. ಸೊ ದೀಸ್ ಆರ್ ಆಲ್ ಡ್ಯೂ ಟು ದಿ ಟೆಸ್ಟೋಸ್ಟಿರಾನ್. ಗಂಡಸಿನ ಕ್ಯಾರೆಕ್ಟರ್ಗಳೆಲ್ಲ ಬರ್ತವೆ. ಸೊ ದ ಟೆಸ್ಟೋಸ್ಟಿರಾನ್ ಆರ್ ದಿ ಆಂಡ್ರೋಜನ್ develops the sexual characters like physical development, hair distribution, masculine voice, male voice, and male behavior at puberty. ದೊಡ್ಡವರಾದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ಗಂಡು ಹುಡುಗರು 15 ವರ್ಷ ಬಂದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ದೊಡ್ಡವರಾಗ್ತಾರೆ. ಆ ದೊಡ್ಡವರಾದಾಗ ನಾವು ನೋಡ್ತೇವೆ ಮೇಲ್ ಕ್ಯಾರೆಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಇಂಟ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಆಗ್ತವೆ. ಮೇಲ್ ಕ್ಯಾರೆಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಶೋನ್. And this is due to the stimulation of the testosterone or the testicle hormone. Now coming to the ovary, the female sex organ, reproductive organ, ovary. In the ovary, the follicles and the corpus luteum, there are two parts present, very important parts, which are endocrine. There are many parts in the ovary, but very important parts, two parts are follicles and corpus luteum. These two parts are the endocrine part of the ovary. They produce the hormones. The follicle and the corpus luteum, they produce the hormones which are endocrine in nature and directly poured into the bloodstream. The ovary, the figure of the ovary is very clear in the notes. You can go through the figure. This is the ovary. The two ovaries are present here. Two ovaries which are attached to the uterus here at the, by the lateral side, and the two ovaries, in front of the two ovaries the ovarian ligament is present through which it is connected, and these are the ovaries, and this is infundulum with the fimbriae, and this is fallopian tube comes and joins to the uterus. This is the uterus. And the ovary, when we take the section of the ovary, you can see the development of the oocyte, development of the ovum, starting from the follicle, primary follicles, secondary follicles, then the Graafian follicle, and the release of the ovum here, the release of the ovum and formation of the corpus luteum, and then degenerates into corpus albicans. The blood vessels are also present here inside. So this is the ovary, which is covered by a tough layer and a germinal layer here. This is the germinal layer, germinal epithelium, through which the ovum is produced. The process is going like this here. So you can see the process clearly. Now, ovary. The ovaries are the female sex organs or gonads. Ovaries are the female sex organs or the gonads, which are the female reproductive organs. The female reproductive organs. Number 2, they are 2 in number, situated on each side of the uterus on the lateral wall of pelvis of abdominal cavity. They are situated in the pelvis of abdominal cavity, on the lateral wall of the pelvis of the abdominal cavity, and situated on each side of the uterus. The next point, in young adults, the ovaries are pink in color, but in older women, due to the repeated ovulation means ovum production, the surface becomes irregular and color becomes grayish. In young people or in the young women, pink color, they are in pink color. The ovaries are present, they are pink colored one, but in older women, they are grayish in color due to the repeated ovulation. Then coming to next point, each ovary is oval in shape, 3 cm long, 1.5 cm wide, and 1 cm thick. Each ovary is oval in shape. So, oval in shape, they are oval in shape, and size is 3 into 1.5 cm into 1 cm. So the primary function of ovary is the production of ova. The primary function of the ovary is the production of ova, or the female sex cell, or the ovum. Ova means, ova is the plural, ovum is singular. So ova is nothing but the female sex cell. It also produces hormones such as estrogen and progesterone. Estrogen and progesterone, both hormones are produced by the ovary. The ovary produces 2 hormones, that is estrogen and progesterone. The ovarian artery, branch of abdominal aorta, supply the blood to ovaries. The blood is supplied to the ovary by ovarian artery and the branch of the abdominal aorta. Coming to the histology of the ovary, ovary is divided into outer cortex and inner medulla. It is divided into outer cortex portion and the inner medulla portion. The ovary is covered by a single layer of cuboidal epithelium called germinal layer. I have already told you, there is a germinal layer present around the ovary. Single layer of cuboidal epithelial germinal layer. Medulla is made up of loose connective tissue, blood vessel, and nerves. The stroma of cortex has a dense collection of cells which are in different stages in the maturation of follicle. So the cortex region, the stroma of the cortex region contains number of different stages follicle formations. Follicles present in different stages. The maturation of follicles is found in the stroma of the cortex. Primordial follicles. There are different stages, means the first one is the primordial follicle with oogonia surrounded by single layer of cuboidal stroma cells. Primordial follicles with central oogonia surrounded by a single layer of cuboidal stroma cell. Now, second one is primary follicle. They have single layer of columnar follicular cells. Single layer of columnar follicular cells. They are called primary follicles. Coming to the secondary follicles with a central oogonium surrounded by several layers of follicular granulosa cells. So this secondary follicle is having a central oogonium surrounded by several layers of follicular granulosa cells. Now the fourth one is maturation of follicle. Maturation of follicle is called Graafian follicle. The matured follicle is also called as Graafian follicle. It is surrounded by a capsule with two layers, an inner vascular layer theca interna and the outer fibrous layer called theca externa. So this follicle, matured follicle, is called the Graafian follicle and is covered by two layers, the inner theca interna and the outer theca externa. Two layers are there. You can see in the figure. There are two layers in the figure also. So this is the one layer and this is the second layer. Two layers, theca interna and the theca externa, are the two layers present in the Graafian follicle. The theca interna produces the hormone called estrogen. The estrogen is produced by the theca interna cells. Next point, the membrane granulosa cells secrete a fluid called liquor follicle which displays the oocyte to one side of the follicle where it is surrounded by a mass of cells called cumulus oophorus. Cumulus oophorus. Next point, when the Graafian follicle reaches to full maturation, it reaches the surface of the ovary and forms bulge. The follicle ruptures and oocyte is released into the peritoneal cavity. This process is called ovulation. The ovum produced in the ovary, that is the Graafian follicle, the completely matured follicle, is released out of the ovary and this process is called ovulation. The oocyte is surrounded by a membrane called zona pellucida. The oocyte is covered by a membrane called zona pellucida. After ovulation, the remaining part of the follicle forms an important yellow structure called corpus luteum. So after the ovulation, the remaining part of the follicle forms a yellowish structure called corpus luteum which has endocrine function. This is very important. It has the endocrine function. It produces progesterone. So the two hormones are produced by the ovary. That is, the first one is estrogen, which is produced by the theca interna of the Graafian follicle, and the corpus luteum produces the progesterone hormone. If the ovum is not fertilized, the corpus luteum degenerates and forms a mass of white fibrous tissue called corpus albicans. The corpus albicans is a white fibrous tissue which is a degeneration of the corpus luteum. The corpus luteum is not formed if the ovary is not fertilized. If the ovary is fertilized, then only the corpus luteum is formed and the different estrogen is produced. If it is not fertilized and it is not fertilized, then the corpus luteum is not formed and the progesterone hormone is not released. Then ovaries are under control of two hormones, FSH and ALH, secreted by the anterior pituitary gland. The anterior pituitary gland produces follicle stimulating hormone, that is FSH, and the LH, luteinizing hormone. These two hormones instigate the ovaries to produce the two hormones called estrogen and progesterone. The estrogen and progesterone are produced by the stimulation of the FSH and LH of the anterior pituitary gland. Now coming to the function, estrogen, it is secreted by theca interna. So I think this is too much today. So we'll stop here only. The functions tomorrow I will take functions of the hormones estrogen and the progesterone. They are very important. And the last one is the placenta. Placenta is also one of the important endocrine gland, and we will take up tomorrow the functions of the hormones produced by the ovary and the 11th endocrine gland called placenta. Thank you very much.